why people want to get a house, why people want to downsize, why people want to buy a house.
Such an emotional moment when you have your client that you get to be an accountant, you get to be a detective. You as a professional, you already know those answers. You've already repeated that so many times.
Why did you show houses to someone who cannot afford it? And sometimes I take the deals just because I want to make them happy, even though that it's not the right thing to do.
Hi, everybody. Today we have a guest here. This is Gayana. Gayana is our top real estate agent. She's the agent that brings us the most business, and she's the agent that has been recognized many times as a top producing agent. So today we want to talk a little bit about what got us into our careers, because after all, decisions have been made, things have been done, and after all, at the end of the day, because Guy is my personal friend, she's my close personal friend, and we talk about our jobs a lot, our work.
A lot.
A lot.
Sometimes
oh my
too
God,
much.
sometimes too much, that's true. So this basically interview is more about why we love our jobs, because we do, and we talk about it a lot, and I figured why not share it with the world, because we are rolling out our LBC Mortgage Academy that is going to help our new loan officers, new processors to get into the business, to get familiar with the business, to learn how it works, to learn how they should be working to make their best possible income while enjoying it instead of stressing out and pulling their hair out, which is quite often happens. So we have the LBC Mortgage Academy rolling. It's already live. So basically what I want to talk to you about is, for you, what got you into this field? You're a real estate agent. I'm a loan officer. You know, it's same industry, but it's slightly different.
Actually different.
Oh, a lot different. It's the same industry, but it is completely different. It's two different sides of the same transaction. So what got you, how did you end up in real estate? Why real estate?
First of all, thank you for having me here. I'm glad that I'm here, actually. And the first thing that I wanted to let you know is I'm here because at the beginning, when I moved to United States, I saw lots of friends of my husband who were in real estate.
I was one of them.
Yes.
But not in real estate
She was
yet.
not in real estate at that time, but some of the owners of this company, they're in real estate and they were best friends of my husband, and I saw how they were succeeding in real estate, and I was thinking, wow, that's amazing. So I wanted to kind of have the same and repeat that, even though that I didn't know that a real estate agent and a loan officer, it's I thought it's the same thing, but
completely
it
different
was completely
story.
different. So I saw them as lenders, mortgage brokers, and I thought that that's what I want to do. But
Something went wrong along the way.
Yes, it was not about mortgages. It was about real estate, because I like people. I like to give advices. I like to train people. I like to educate people, and with all of that, and help people, of course.
Inspire people.
And I like to travel. That's why I'm here in the United States. That's why I'm here, and I'm a realtor. I'm traveling all day long, back and forth in my car. So. Showing houses, and that's how I came to real estate. So I saw them, I asked, what do you think? And they said, yes, it's a great career, and that's how I started.
Wow, for me it was a complete accident to get into mortgage industry. It was a complete accident. I was between the jobs. I was thinking about changing my career. I worked in the insurance business at the moment, and I was ready to move on to something else. By total accident, it just happened that Alex was looking for an assistant, and that's how I got in. And somehow all this mess, all the documentation, all the calculations, all the talking, all that jazz that we go through every day somehow made sense for me. So it was kind of fun. There were times when I hated my job.
That's what makes me crazy, actually, all these documents.
No, but it's different. See, with every client, although you're looking at pretty much the same procedure. You know, you get the client in, you pre-approve the client, you check the income, you submit the file, yada, 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 you fund, you close, you're done. But each file is different. Each file is a different person. And every person doesn't want to disclose everything about themselves. So you get to be, when you're a loan officer or you're a processor, it doesn't matter, you get to be so many things. Not just work with papers or talk to people, you get to be an accountant, you get to be a detective. Hold on. I bill for that separately. So you get to be an accountant, you get to be a detective when you have to figure out where things are coming from. You have to be sometimes an emotional support provider, psychologist. Well, not a professional one, but, you know, more like an ear.
I am a professional, by the way.
Oh, yes. Gayachka is a professional psychologist. That's probably why she's so good with her clients. So there are a lot of things that are kind of fall into one career, one job description. You get to be so much, and you get to meet people. Sometimes not in person, but you definitely get to be a part of their lives. And I think I was telling you the other day what makes it rewarding for me to be to do what I'm doing and keeps me motivated, keeps me going, is when your clients come back to you. And you get to, this is just, completely agree. Even my voice is shaking right now. It's such an emotional moment when you have your client that you started working on. They were single, they just got a new job, they just fresh out of school, you know, whatever the case may be, maybe just migrated to United States, everything is new for them. And this is the first time you meet them. And this is the first property they buy with you. You finance, you help find them financing and make that first dream this very stressful and very confusing experience to make it as easy as possible. And then they keep coming back to you. And then in a few years, they call again and they're, oh, I got married. Oh, I just had a baby. And it's like, you feel like basically part of their life, because you get to check back with them every time. Or they call you back and they say, hey, listen, you know, we have this huge house. Our daughter moved away to college. She now lives in a different state, in a different city. We need to downsize. And then you get to be very creative with all the letters of explanations between the lenders. I'm not talking about that. Anyway. Anyway, it's being the part of their life journey. That's what keeps me going. What about you?
Good questions. Always good questions.
I know how to put people on the spot.
Okay, I was not prepared to answer all these questions.
Well, that's how you answer it from your heart.
From the bottom of my heart.
The real answer.
Okay, so let me start from the beginning. You said about psychology. Yes, I have a PhD in psychology. That helps me a lot.
How?
Not in my real life, but in my client's life.
Never in a personal life. But how in the world do you get to fit in everything that you do and everything that you have accomplished in this period of time? I don't understand. We'll get back to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me tell you. So with that psychology, it helps me a lot to understand why people want to move out, why people want to get a house, why people want to downsize, why people want to buy a house. I'm a buyer myself, so I know that feeling. So whenever you buy for yourself, you're frustrated. You don't know what to do. You don't know the steps, what and how. That's why I said I like to support people. I like to train people. I like to give them every detail of every step of their future home ownership. So, and when the person comes to me, I start with explanation, how to buy a house. What is the first step? How you do the pre-approval and why do you need to do the pre-approval? Second, why we go here and why we do inspections. Third, how's the process of home buying looks like. Every step, even remember we were doing recently some seminars about how to buy a house. And
first buyer's experience in your office.
And everything. So I know every time people come to me, and I have so many clients that come back, and I know that feelings because maybe I will skip right now the question and I will go to another one. I'll give you an example. I was holding an open house. From that open house, I had a guy who came to me, 18 years old. He came to me, he saw me last minute when I was closing the house. From that last minute, he told me about his grandma that wanted to buy a house. So 2 years later, I bought a house for his grandma, who was like 67 years old at that time. I bought her an amazing house for 1.7. Then after that, I rented a house for his sister. And then in a year, I bought a house for his sister. And in a year, I bought a house for his son-in-law. So the whole family.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And you were helping me with this loan. So, you know. And it took me like 4 or 5 years, but I closed already 4 transactions with them, and I'm very happy. And when they come back and they still say, like, Gaia, you are not only the best real estate agent, but you are our friend, you are our psychologist, you are our helper, you are our everything. So at this point I understand, yes, I'm everything, because when they ask what do you do, a little bit of everything. So that's what we do. We help everywhere. If you want me to move boxes, I will do that too, as long as I can sell that house and as long as I will make you happy.
I'll come paint the walls for you.
Yes. So, and the most rewarding in this career when people are happy. When I'm giving this key for the dream house key, like, you know, when you give it to them, that's the most rewarding, because they get this key and they don't only get mortgage with that. So
it's not only bills, people. It's not only bills. It's also your backyard, your own bedroom. It's not.
But it's the experience. When you give this happiness to them, that's what makes me happy, actually. And the other thing, I like to achieve goals and do something that you say is impossible to do. I like to do impossible things. So, and real estate is not always that easy as people think. Show a house and sell it the next day. No, you do lots of impossible things in order to achieve the goal.
So, which kind of brings me, you're saying that brings me to my next question. What are the difficulties that you face as a real estate agent? Because for us, for processing, for loan officers, I mean, I know our difficulties. It's getting paperwork from the buyers or borrowers. It's talking on the phone and trying to explain everything and keep our borrowers, our clients, so informed that sometimes you spend an hour on the phone with them. Sometimes it's an hour and a half, and then they call back and they ask you the same question. And it's really, really important that you can be patient enough with people in that situation, because you as a professional, you already know those answers. You've already repeated that so many times that for you, maybe it's just super easy, but for them, they're hearing it for the first time. And they're seeing numbers for the first time and they freaked out. They might be nervous, confused. They won't understand what's going on. And it's your job to get them, to carry them, basically like a little fragile, I don't know, crystal doll or something from one point of the transaction all the way to another. So sometimes it's a struggle. Sometimes people get frustrated, they get upset. They don't get upset with you necessarily, but since you're on the phone, you get the short end of the stick sometimes. Sometimes people will just be on your case all the time. They keep calling you, rushing you. They keep checking in with you, although you've given them enough information and the time frames, but they still, and it's the anxiousness, the anxiety of the process, and it's okay as long as you understand that it's okay, because for them, it's a first-time experience. Sometimes we lose deals. Sometimes we think we did everything right. We provided our best rate. We provided our explanation, our education. We talked to our client. We did everything we could. But then we just had that situation recently with one of our loan officers. He carried the file basically through, submitted and everything, but because it was a new construction, it was not completed yet. We still had a lot of time. Somebody called the client, some friend referred them somebody else, and we lost the client that way. But the key in this situation, we put in about a month of work, again, the education of the client included, but it's not time wasted. And especially when a client calls you and tells you, listen, this is what I got offered. Can you match that? And if I see that I can't match it, I can't match it. There's no way, I can get them the same rate. Well, by all means, go. Have them do that for you. The client's interest is always in mind. So it is a struggle. It hurts. It hurts when you put in the work and then you lose the deal and you don't get your commission because, nothing is free in this life, basically. We still have to eat too, although we love our clients to death, but we don't necessarily want to die.
We still have to eat.
We still have to eat. We still have kids that we need to feed and entertain and everything. So there's always that struggle as well. But understanding that you have their best interest in mind, you have a higher chance them coming back to you if something goes wrong or them referring their friends or families back to you. So those are kind of our struggles. Sometimes there's not enough hours in a day to cover everything. So planning is a big part of it. What about your side of the business?
In my field, it depends if you're working with the buyer or a seller. Let's say you're working with the buyer. It's always emotional. Emotions are number one. First, it's hard to choose the house, the right house. That's what they like. So it might take 2 months. It might take half year. It might take a year or two. Sometimes I showed 70 houses in order to find one. So it depends. It depends. Sometimes you don't even show up in the house and they say, I want this house. And there is no others. I'm like, okay, let me at least see the house. So with buyers, it's one difficulty. With buyers, it's lots, especially if they're first-time buyers, it's cold feet. Let's say we went into escrow, we are in escrow, we did the inspection, and inspection came with 50 pages of everything in red. For me, all these reds are easy things. We can fix it, everything is fixable. You can ask for money for that, you can ask for repairs, you can negotiate that. And it's good when you have all this red so you can negotiate. That's the best part.
It gives you some way in.
Yes, and for new buyers, when they're new and they don't know, the first-time buyers, they're afraid and they might have a cold feet and they might just say, let's cancel it. I don't want this house. So
no, I've had those.
That's number one. I had those. It's painful, even though sometimes you say, no, it's a great house. It's a great starter. You have to start here and then you can buy whatever you want. Just start. But not always. It doesn't help always. So sometimes they have their own idea of what they want, and maybe in the future they will say, yes, you were right, but it is late. And we had few buyers like that, so with investors, it's much easier. They look only on numbers, so number is the game. So let's say the house is 800, they want to buy for 700, so it has to make sense for them and good return of investment. And sometimes it's difficult to get a loan. So that's why we come to LBC. That's why they're doing magic for us.
That's why pre-approval is really important. I can't stress this point any harder.
Without that, I don't even go in. No showings.
Pre-approval.
The funny story, when I just started 10 years ago, and I started with actually here, lending via LBC Mortgage. I started with them. I was new. I didn't know what I'm doing, how I'm doing. I thought that, again, mortgage and real estate is the same, but it's not. And I was reading all the stories online, and I went to show a house to a client who said, oh, I can buy for let's say $1 million at that time. And I'm like, wow, $1 million client, I'll be showing. So it took me about a month or two to show those houses until he said, oh, I want this one. And then I'm coming to, I believe it was Alex, and I'm coming with that client, and the client cannot afford it. I'm like, why did you show houses to someone who cannot afford it? I'm like, but he said he can. And he's like, where's the pre-approval? I'm like, pre-approval? What is that? It was 10 years ago.
Live and learn.
So yes, lesson learned. No showings until there is a pre-approval. So as soon as the person calls me, the first question, did you do a pre-approval? So, and if they show me the pre-approval, yes, we can go and check for houses. And with sellers, it's completely different. Sellers are different because with sellers, we have to talk about numbers, how much they're going to pay for selling the house, how much profits they will have at the end, what would be their net at the end, and it has to make sense for them as well, of course. And sellers love to negotiate with you about commission, about this and that, and then you explain them why you are worth of those money, why you are worth of this 5% commission. And then you explain why we divided half and half with the listing agent, buyer's agent, and you have to show the value. And for me, the most difficult part that I have with sellers, it's I don't like to bargain, and I always say yes. That's a bad part. You never heard that. And I just work not for the money. I work for pleasure. So, and sometimes I take the deals just because I want to make them happy, even though that it's not the right thing to do. And at the end, it's rewarding no matter what. I still get my money, but it's not like I could get
It's not a
100,000.
priority.
Yes,
yeah.
it's not a priority for me. But my idea is to close the deal, to make them happy, and as soon as they're happy, they will bring me another client, and then they refer me another friend, and then another one. So that brings me happiness.
Yeah,
so
that will build your book of business.
And I would say that 100% of my clients are happy. So
we talked a lot about what motivates us, what challenges we see. So you've been in business for what now, 10 years?
10 years.
10 years you've been an agent. I've been in business for 6.5, around that, 6 years, let's call it that. So knowing what you know at this point of time, throughout all those transactions that you went through, what is important? What type of personal qualities you need to have to be able to not only survive in this business, but also thrive in this business?
Okay. For real estate agents, you have to be very knowledgeable. That's number one. You have to educate yourself because, God forbid, you do a mistake. You have to be very attentive. Like, let's say you missed 1 point and it's $100,000. So you don't want to do that mistake. Be very attentive. That's number one. Detail-oriented. Second, you have to be very social. Especially as a real estate agent, you have to go to different places. You have to meet different people. You have to know how to present yourself. So that's number two. That's social. Number three, I can say this. No one cares how much you know until they see how much you care. Which means if you care about others, those people will look at your honesty and they will come back to you and they will refer you. That's how I started my business. So I cared about people, I helped them for free, and they cared about me and they referred me business and other clients. That's number three. And I think number four is nonstop. That's for me. That's what works for me.
Energy
Yes.
level.
Energy and being nonstop. So because in real estate, real estate life doesn't start from 9 to 6. So we work on weekends, we work all Saturdays, Sundays, we work at nights. Even sometimes I get calls at 2 a.m. and I pick up these calls and I'm like, oh yes, it's international buyer. Of course I'm available.
There you go. Those are one of your challenges and difficulties you have in the profession. You have to be available all the time.
Yes, and sometimes my husband wants to kill me for that. And unfortunately, I cannot do and help him with that. And I cannot help myself on weekends as well because I have to work and do open houses.
That's the busiest time, right?
Yes, I have to do open houses. I have to prepare for them. So whenever everyone is relaxing and partying on the beach, I am working. And my life starts after 5 p.m. by the way, because I have to do an open house. An open house starts from 10. I'm preparing and then finish by 5 or 6. So that's my struggle. Being away, being prepared to be away from your family sometimes, of course, because Of course, Saturday and Sunday you have to spend time with your family, but you cannot do that always. That's a real estate life, unfortunately. And one more thing, problem solving. How you can do, how you are capable to solve the problems. Will you find a solution to that problem? For example, when I started transaction, I always ask for bad things. If there is any problem, if there is anything that I need to know, do you think we might have a hiccups? So I have to have a plan A, plan B, plan C. And actually it helps when you prepared for worst, because at the end you have a happy ending.
It's interesting how you were saying all that, and I was listening to you, and I was thinking, being a loan officer, you kind of have to be pretty much the same personality-wise. Like you were just explaining, you have to be social, you have to be ready to be always available, sometimes, most of the times, probably on the weekends as well, because people typically start thinking about their things that they need to do after work and on the weekends. As a loan officer, yeah, you should probably have to be available most of the time. Most of the weekends, you have to be able to pick up the phone, to be able to talk to people, explain things. You don't have to go to showings, but that's another thing that actually a lot of loan officers do, and I think a lot of loan officers should do that, go to the open houses.
And help real estate agents.
Yes, be there, be present, network, talk to agents, hear their pains and their struggles, find a way that you can help. Because what I've noticed a lot actually, that agents most of the time, I'm not talking about you guys, you are pretty good. A lot of agents, they don't have any idea of how the financing part of the transaction works. And educating the agent actually helps you as a loan officer, helps your processor, and it helps the agent in the future and with the current transaction, just to keep a little bit of a peace of mind, because you guys are nervous all the time too. You guys are under pressure all the time. A loan officer is under pressure all the time as well, and that's probably one of the challenges of this particular career path, is that most of the time you're under pressure, and you have to be the type of person that can handle the pressure, that is not going to bend under that pressure. So of course we'll people, of course we'll get tired, but knowing exactly your limits, knowing how to set your limits, your boundaries, in a way that it's not hurting your work process, it's not hurting your client, and it's not hurting you. Because if you don't manage that properly, you're going to end up not picking up a call on a client, not because you're busy, not picking up a call on a client because you just physically cannot or psychologically cannot take this any longer. This is the breaking down point. A lot of loan officers, a lot of processors go through that. Actually, I've seen that, I've witnessed that. I went through that myself a few times throughout 6 years. I mean, we're all human, right?
I can imagine that. And I saw how many times we were crying together.
Oh, yeah, we cried together, we laughed together. We had a drink together or two.
Lots of drinks.
Or three sometimes.
You know, there is recently I showed a small picture. Are you in real estate? Yes. Do you drink? Yes, I'm in real estate.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that one too. I immediately thought of you. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much how it is. Mm-hmm. So back to the personality traits, back to the type of person you need to be able to, to develop in this career and actually enjoy it. You have to be able to multitask. All the time you have to be able to multitask.
Oh, yes.
And you have to be able not hold a lot on your plate. We're not talking about holding things on your plate. We're talking about knowing your limit exactly. So if you can hold 3 files on your plate, do that. Try taking on the 4th one. Are you sane? Are you okay? Maybe the 5th, maybe then you take the 5th one. Just kind of let it develop and feel out, try out, and try to understand where your boundaries are. Because at the moment where you took too much on yourself and you feel like you're breaking down and you're in the middle of 5, 6, whatever, 7, 10 transactions, doesn't matter, people are calling you and not picking up the phone. And this is not acceptable. This is something that should not happen. You should always have somebody who's gonna get you back in the situation. And for us, for loan officers, those are the processors. This is the type of relationship that you build with your processor, that you guys got each other. Sometimes you need some hand-holding. Sometimes you need some help. You need, for crying out loud, you need to go to the freaking dentist. You can't pick up the phone. Who's going to do it for you? That's why you have your processor. That's why you are close friends with your processor, because they will get you. At the same time, you'll do the same. So that's one of the abilities. This is very important ability, very important quality to have, is to be able to plan pragmatically, realistically, what you can do and what you cannot do. This is not a field where you can jump in as an overachiever and come out at the end happy. You have to plan things. You have to try things.
You have to have a structure.
You have to have a structure. It's really important to have a structure. It's really important to be educated and to always want to be educated. Always want to get more and more and more information, because the more you know, the easier it is for you as a loan officer. The more programs you know, the safer you feel yourself. It's like, oh, I've got this client. If it's not this, we'll do that. If it's not that, we'll do this. You already have your plans A, B through Z, basically, lined up for you, because you know you are educated. You put in time to research the file, to research the products, you're ready. And that's another important ability that you do need to have, being either loan officer or processor. For processor, being meticulously detailed oriented to a point of no return. Because little things, little dots will change the game. You have to be very, very detail-oriented. You have to be very concentrated at times. When you review your client's income, you need to make sure you're doing it right. You're not missing anything, because one little mistake, it's not millions of dollars, of course, in our situation, but one little mistake will bring so much trouble and so much stress to everyone. So being a processor is being under pressure as well, because you're in between stressed out agents, stressed out loan officer, then you're in the middle, then you have escrow officers, they're usually chill. Escrow officers, title officers, they're so chill. No, they just, I don't know. I've seen them stressed out. While we had the refi boom, everybody was stressed out, but typically, they're more laid back in that case, or at least they don't show it to us. And then you have the lender on the other side. And you always have to remember, because when you get your file in the beginning, you have to structure it. You find a way how you're going to present it. You build up a story of that file, and you have to remember that story. Because when you get to the point when underwriter is going to start asking you questions, and you forgot the story, the structure that you built in the beginning, it's important not to maybe over-disclose some information or disclose it in a wrong way that can hurt the file. So that's another thing, that you have to keep a lot of things in mind, a lot of things in your head, in your CRM, in your file, just so you're always ready and you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about. For the processors, knowing guidelines back and forth is really important, because maybe one lender doesn't like non-permanent residents and the other lender is okay with that. And submitting a non-permanent resident to a lender who doesn't like them, who doesn't lend to those people,
it's a
you're
waste
stuck.
of time.
That's it. It's a purchase, and there you have it. Your contingencies are due. Everybody's crazy. So yeah, being there, present, focused, and concentrated all the time. Well, when you're at work, it's important.
That's why actually I'm using LBC, because I know if, for example, we have a hiccup during transaction, we can always find a solution.
We'll always find a solution. Yeah, that's one of the things, and that's probably one of my favorite things to do. This is why I think I'm still in this industry, in this business, because there's always something out of ordinary. There's always something that is not conventional. You have to get creative. You have to think about it. You have to think how you're going to structure it. And typically those types of files end up on my desk. My specialty at this point already is just something that is very, very difficult on paper. And this is what I usually tell my clients, by the way. This is something that some people get a giggle out. Other people don't understand. Some people get really, really grumpy. But I always tell my clients, you talk to me like you talk to a priest. You tell me straight up everything, all the truth. all the dirties,
Oh,
all the
yes.
nasties. You tell me everything. I'm your priest, I'm your psychologist, whatever you want to call, whatever you believe in. Tell me everything. I'd rather know in advance what can come back and bite me in my behind when we're in the process of the transaction. I'd rather know it now and be ready, be prepared to deal with it, than it's just going to pop out and it's not going to be good for anyone.
And sometimes they don't, and at the end of the transaction, we have a problem. So
Yeah. At the end of the day, something still comes out because people, as I mentioned before, people don't like to talk about themselves, about their private things, about their financials. They won't say.
at the beginning, when I started real estate, I thought my friends will be the first one who would come to me and say, Gaia, help us to purchase a house.
No, they don't.
So many disappointments, to be honest, from the beginning of my career, from my friends. But I think I proved them wrong. They were wrong.
That's another quality. That's a great quality to have. You have to be thick-skinned and don't take things personally.
Yeah, stress. Oh my gosh, so many stress at that time. But you know what? I saw how my friends were buying houses with other agents, knowing that I'm an agent. I saw so many. I'm not saying anything here.
Okay.
But at
Отрежем.
the end, many years later, they still become my clients. They still sell with me. They still buy with me. So I prove them wrong. And I like to prove that. So they know that they can trust
rely
me.
on you.
Yes.
Actually, you're saying that one thing I've noticed throughout the years that Gaia, being an agent, she deals with a lot of people. The funny thing is, a lot of her clients end up becoming her very close friends.
Oh, that-
A lot of those clients that she worked on 5, 6, 7 years ago, to this day, come to her birthday parties, come to her kids' birthday parties. You don't understand. This woman, when she has a birthday party, kid's birthday party, she has what?
180
200 people in her backyard? Crazy.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Recently, I had a birthday party, and I thought I would have only 50 people on my birthday,
Yeah.
and I end up with 96. And I invited them like basically 5-6 days prior, and I had 96 people on my birthday party. Thanks God, another 20-30 didn't come.
Didn't come. All right, well, Gaichka, it was a pleasure. It was really, really interesting
Thank
to
you.
hear the behind the scenes kind of being a real estate agent. You guys, I hope this is helpful. When you're choosing your career, it really, really is important to know all ins and outs, to understand where you had it, like what it is, what it takes to be successful. I know we touched base on a lot of things today.
But there are so many that we didn't.
There's so much more that we can add to it, and I think that would be a conversation for next time, because as you can see, when we start talking about this, when we start talking about our work, our careers, it can go on for hours. So we're gonna
So many stories.
so many stories. Yeah, we'll definitely get back to this subject and talk more about it. But again, it is really, really important to understand when you're choosing your career where you had it. This is why we have created that course. This is why we've created the LBC Academy, because it's not only a school that was created with the guidelines and how-tos and where-tos. It's our experience. It's what we as a team, me, Alex, other team members, what we have seen, what we've been through, what experiences we had, what transactions we had. It's not just the book where you just read, okay, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, okay, this is what I do. It is sharing of experience. So check it out. Hit me up. Send me a private message. I'll have a promo code for you. Refer to this video or comment below. We will provide you a little promo code for the school. Thank you very much for listening. Gaichka, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me. And let me finish with this. When I get a call from a client, they say, someone told us that you're a magician. I'm like, no, I'm not. No, you're doing magic. Can you help us? And when they start telling the story, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I have a friend. And, these friends, actually, they're doing magic with me. We can do the magic for you, so let's start the process. So whoever wants to do magic, come to us.